Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining this webinar today. This is Chris Stern. I'm a pre-sales engineer here at Squid, and I wanted to start off with showing what we're going to be building over the course of this series. And so what we're looking at right here is a Squid application built in Lightning. You can see the Lightning header here at the top. And what's going on here is we've done an account hierarchy, but a lot more than that too. So there's a list of accounts over here on the left that are just the parent accounts. And then over here, we kind of have a detailed view of all the child accounts that look up to that parent. So if I scroll down this page, let me just hide this chart so we can see a little bit more of the page. If I scroll down, you can see we're bringing in then a list of all the child accounts that are related to, in this case, Nautilus Core Global. If I were to click on Blue Shoals over here, though, we're going to update this viewer to just show all the details that relate to all of the child accounts that look up to Blue Shoals Global. So dynamically, then we can see all those different child accounts. We're doing this through several different components, but a lot of what's driving this experience down below is our deck component. And the deck component iterates through records. And so we have a deck that's looking at all the different accounts with a condition on it, though, where it's only displaying accounts that look up to whatever that parent account is that we've clicked. And we'll get into like a deeper dive into how this is built out and why all this is happening, but just wanted to start with the finished product so we can see what we're going to be working on. The other thing that's cool here is we've got a couple different views into the opportunities on each of these child accounts. So I've got a tab set component here where I can see all the open opportunities, my pipeline, but I can also flip over and see all my closed opportunities in the same view. So it's looking at the opportunities related to this account, but two different filtered views of those, which is really powerful. This is also inline editable, so I can make changes right here. I can adjust the amount, I can change the stage, I can do that for my history as well if I wanted to, and any of these accounts, I can do it all simultaneously and then just hit save once. So for example, if I wanted to change this to, let's say 130,000, you'll notice the save button appears. And if I wanted to change my open opportunity, we don't want to adjust closed ones, to, let's bump that up to 50,000. Then if I hit save, it's going to go ahead and save both of those records simultaneously. So it's really cool. I'm not having to drill down into an individual child account to then see its opportunity to make that change. I'm able to do perform those CRUD operations across everything here in one screen. The other thing that's powerful is similar to seeing all those opportunities for childs, I can also view all the cases that are related to all the child accounts. So it's not just a case that's related to the account I'm looking at, it's all the cases related to a series of accounts that I'm looking at, so all the child accounts. So you can see here this case is related to Nautilus Core EMEA, this one is Northern Europe, Canada, EMEA, and it allows you to, similar to what I just did with the opportunities, make changes across each of these cases. So that's, Northern Europe, EMEA. Let's just put that on hold, and let's do this as in progress. So that's Canada, Northern Europe, and EMEA. I hit save once, and it's going to update the records on all those cases, which is, again, really, really powerful for an efficiency perspective because I'm not having to drill into each of those records to make that change. I get my kind of global view of all that and can make my adjustments as necessary. And then all of this is contextually driven by whatever parent account we've clicked on over here. So Humboldt, you can see the KPIs and the chart will update the opportunities. Blue Shoals, similar. And so again, over the course of this series, we're gonna build from scratch and kind of walk through the step-by-step process of from beginning with the design and understanding the data model in Salesforce to how I would go through using Squid to build out this kind of experience. So let me jump over to the Squid Central. So you will have, to do this, you'll need to have Squid installed in your dev org or sandbox, which we have an instructional video on how to do that. But once you get Squid installed, you can just come into Squid Central, and we're going to start off by compose a new page. So I'm going to just call this account. Oops, has to be one word. Account hierarchy, Squid API version 2, and create page. So if you're following along, go ahead and create your page. This is being recorded, so we'll be able to send this out afterwards if you'd like to do this later. So this takes you into the app composer. And before we start building though, I want to show just briefly kind of what my process is for going through a build. So first of all, I'm going to open up Figma. Figma is a really awesome design tool. I really love this. Our design team will give me designs. I'll send them kind of wireframes and use case for different proofs of concept that I'm working on or different applications. And then they'll come back with designs. And so no exaggeration, this is what I gave them for this particular app. An account navigator, list on the left of parent accounts and then details and stuff over here. And this is what they returned. And you can see how similar this looks to the finished result that I just showed you. So what is really helpful though with Figma is that it allows you to basically get all the details that you need with how to build from a design perspective. So if I click on this card, I can see that my border radius is 8 pixels. I can see the background color. If I click on this color, I can grab the hex code. I can see, the dimensions as I'm hovering over it. And for child accounts, if I want to get, more details into, what the specs are for this, just click on there. I get the hex code, the font size, the weight, the style, the font family, and that's true, everywhere on this page. So it allows you to really easily just extract all the awesome work that the design team did, including spacing. So I can see there's 61 pixels between child accounts in the bottom of that chart. You can see there's 34 pixels there. So it's really just a great cheat sheet to be able to take into Squid and then build out your page. And I don't have to worry about, laying this stuff out. I could never make it look this good. I just get to take what the designers have done and then implement all those different measurements and sizes and colors and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to do that over the course of this series too, when we get to Squid's Design System Studio, which is where we incorporate all the awesome stuff that the designers kick out in Figma. The next thing I want to show though is Schema Builder. And so this is pretty straightforward in terms of what we're looking at with regards to cases, opportunities, and counts. These are all standard objects. Did want to call out though that Squid allows you to do hierarchy type stuff that I just showed you with custom or standard objects. It doesn't matter. There's no limitation there. So in terms of how we're associating that data and contextualizing it all together through Squid models, it does not matter for Squid if it's a standard or a custom object, which is really powerful when you think about needing to build out hierarchies or kind of global views into your data. But I love starting with Schema Builder, really powerful tool, and helps me just get a sense of what the relationships are, where my lookups are, if they're master detail, and just helps me understand what's going on. So again, we're using 3 objects for this particular one. Oftentimes though, we're dealing, 7, 8, maybe even more objects at a time. And Schema Builder is crucial for being able to get a nice view into how everything is associated, what those relationships are, and really helpful for building it out. So that's really where I start. And then before I get into actually trying to make the application look like the end result that we saw, I use Squid as a quick prototyper to just get a sense of what all the data is in the org, what I'm working with, and making sure that as I'm building, I've done a check to see, is there actually data here that's representative of what I'm trying to do? That's really helpful. So we'll jump back to our app composer, and the app composer. So up here at the top left, these are the Squid components. Just open this up. These are all the ways we present data to the end user. So wizards, wrappers, accordions, button sets, forms, tables, text components, charts, all those kinds of things. We're going to use a good bit of these in building out our account hierarchy. But you just drag and drop these down into the canvas, which is down here below. The properties over here on the right change based on what you're clicking on in the page, and we'll be adjusting the properties pretty substantially as we work through this. Models, though, are how we bring data into the page. This is awesome. This is really powerful because there's no limit to the number of models you can bring into a page. And so a model, think of it as basically a configured query, a configured SQL query. And so for this, I'm going to start by, I want to bring in all the data across my accounts, my opportunities, and my cases. And I just want to start to get a sense of what is sitting in my org. So I'm just going to call this one account. It's pretty easy. And then I can select from any of the customer standard objects. So I'm just choosing account, and then I've got other properties I can configure as well, whether this is queried on page load, how many records to bring back on that initial query. And I can adjust a lot of properties here, which allow me to not only kind of contextualize this query for whatever app I'm building, but you can also get really performant pages with this too, because there might be occasions where you don't need to query the data on page load. Maybe you're waiting for a user to interact with something, and then you can wait to query at that point. So lots of different controls over how data is coming into the page, when it's coming in, so on and so forth. I'm going to leave that queried for now. So again, what we're doing here is I just want to bring in data to see what I'm working with. So once I click on the fields, I'll open this up again, I can see all the custom and standard fields on my object. So I'm going to bring in the account ID. You can use your mouse to go through and click all these. Or if you use the search, what's really helpful is you can type the name, and then if you hit tab, it takes you to that focus down to that checkbox, and then space selects it and moves the focus back to the search. So you can then just start typing, so you never have to lift your hands off the keyboard, which is really useful. So I'm just going to grab the name, ID, and industry, and then the billing information as well. So city and state and zip. Just do that for now. Cool. So now I've got a model that's looking at the account object. It's going to bring back these fields. It's going to query on page load. So that will start to give us some insight into accounts. However, we also want to see opportunities and cases to see what we're working with. I'm just going to call that ops. So I'm looking at the opportunity object, make that selection. For opportunities, I want to include the lookup to account, because this is how we're going to start to daisy chain these things together, so that I'm only seeing opportunities related to the child accounts for that parent account. We'll get into the specifics of that. But I'm going to choose the account lookup then. And this is where Schema Builder for more complex data models is really helpful, because it just allows you to get a sense of how everything's laid out. And then when you're in your page, Squid's useful because you can see that this is the lookup field, and you can start to make sure you're lining everything up correctly. So for opportunities, I'm going to grab that account ID, the name of the opportunity, the amount, the stage, and we'll grab the close date. I also want to grab the is closed, which is a Boolean, because remember, we're going to have filtered views of opportunities that are open and opportunities that are closed. And so we're going to put a model condition on this model that is going to look at that field, and whether or not it's true or false, going to display open ops or closed ops. And we'll get into that in a second. So I've got opportunities. Now I'm just going to add cases. Choose the case object fields. I want to see, again, make sure that I'm contextually bringing the right stuff for the account. I'm going to grab the case ID and the name, the subject, the status, and the description. And this keyboard shortcut is really useful. You can move really quickly. Again, it's just tabbing to select that checkbox, spacebar to make the selection, and then it just scoots you right back to that search. So that's good for now. I can save my page by clicking, or you can hit Command S on Mac or Control S on PC. I save very frequently. I recommend you do that as well. So now that I've got 3 models on this page, I do want to call out too, this isn't just related list. We've got 3 different objects now that we're querying simultaneously on this page, which is really cool. However, the end user is not going to see anything because we don't have any components down here yet to present that data. So let's change that. A couple ways you can do that. From here, again, all the different selection of components, you can search, say, a table component, drag it down onto your canvas, point it at whichever model you're wanting to visualize that data in. So account, ops, or cases. That's one way to do it. What we're going to do, though, is a little bit of a shortcut, and we're just going to quick create it. So if you double click the model name, Squid says, do you want to create a form or a table component? We're just going to do a table component and for each of these, because we just really want to get a sense of what data are we working with. And we should be able to tell from the fields and stuff, but it's just nice. Typically what I'll do is I'll label these tables. Again, if you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on here, it can get a little confusing as you're trying to understand. So you can just throw in the table title, and I'll call this one accounts. I'm just naming it for the object. That's typically what I'll do as well. If you name it for the name of the object, it's just you're kind of just creating a visual data dictionary then as well. And this last one is case. So now we've got accounts, ops, cases. This is all pretty quickly put together. The one thing it just annoys me if things have really poor spacing or margin. And right now, these things are going to be slammed right up against the edge of the screen. Actually, I'll just show you. So you hit preview. And now we're looking at the Squid runtime. And so we should have our 3 tables, accounts, ops, cases, and you can see what I mean, right up against the edge there, which is great. That's a great default state because you don't want, built-in padding or margin. You want to be able to have complete control over that. So typically what I'll do when I'm building out or starting to build out a page and getting a sense of my data is I'll use our responsive grid component. So I'll drag that down to the canvas. And this allows me to really easily add as many divisions as I want. I don't need all of these. I just want 3. But really quickly and easily, you're able to control visually where things are sitting on the page. So if I just drag these tables up into my middle division, this is going to give me a lot of control over some of that spacing that I was talking about. This is too narrow. I don't really need that. So if I click on the division, I get division properties. If you remember, I was saying earlier that this changes, the properties change dynamically based on what you're selecting. So whatever component you're on, you're going to get the properties available for that. So for division, I'll typically just make this like 75%. And that means, min width is at least always going to be 75%. And then for some top spacing on my responsive grid, there's a property under styles called spacing. And for the top margin, I'm just going to do extra large. And now I'll go back to my runtime and just refresh the page. And this is just an easier way to look at the data. It's a lot more friendlier, for me at least personally, to kind of see what's going on. So now that we've got all this data coming in across all the objects, the next thing that I'll typically do just to make it easier to try and see, hey, where are relationships between these things? I'll put search properties for each table. I'll just tick the box to say, hey, show search box. I'm just going to leave the rest of those properties for now. Do this for each of these tables. Hit save. And then I'm coming back. As I'm building, this is really nice for prototyping, just kind of checking as you go, because you're seeing I'm in my composer, and then I'm in my runtime, I refresh, and I can just see everything that's happened. So there's my search for accounts, so I can look through and see everything. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a separate video where we're going to walk through basically putting in some dummy data and getting enough accounts and opportunities and cases all related to each other, and then all looking up to like a global parent so that we have some good sample data to show how this is going to work with regards to having a good bunch of parent accounts and a lot of child accounts. That'll make it a lot more useful to see how this is. If you're in a fresh sandbox or demo org, you're not going to have a lot of accounts that are in a hierarchy relationship, and so we're going to show you just quickly how to go through and create some stuff to have some data for testing. I do know, though, there's a couple United Oil and Gas right out of the box. So if I just search for United, I can see there's 3 of those. They're not currently related to each other, but this is a good start. So now I want to see, though, for my opportunities, do I have opportunities that look up to United Oil and Gas? Because I want to make sure, when I'm looking at my filter view of opportunities that there's some representative data there if United Oil and Gas is going to be my test. So for opportunities, we brought in that lookup to account, so I can see in line all the different accounts that each of these opportunities are related to. So I'm just going to search for United. We can see, as this is actually great. So we've got 13 opportunities that are all tied to United Oil and Gas Core. It looks like all of them, and then maybe one for Singapore. Okay, cool. So that's great. So now I know so far, for testing purposes, making sure I'm getting an account hierarchy put together, United Oil and Gas is definitely going to be a useful one. So for cases, similarly, we brought in that lookup to account. I can see it in this list now, but I'm just going to search anyway and make sure. So we've got several cases for United Oil and Gas Singapore. We've got one for the UK, which is awesome, and then for that parent as well. So at this point, this is where now that I have a sense of kind of what's going on, we start to play with some of the model conditions to make sure that we are contextually presenting this data then in a way that is right. So because I'm going to use United Oil and Gas Core, I'm just going to start tying these model conditions to United Oil and Gas Core and making sure that on query, we're bringing back the right data. So back in the App Composer, I'm going to my models now, and for the condition on the account model, for now, I'm just going to put a condition where I'm going to say the ID is a page parameter, and so is fine, value, page URL parameter value, ID, and this is essentially how you configure if you're passing in an ID and going to it like a detail page. It's going to look for that ID and then query everything else that's related to whatever ID is being passed in. So ID is the ID page parameters. Now opportunities, I'll open this up so we can see a little bit more. This is where this is really, really powerful. This is how we're getting multiple objects on the same page, but that they're contextually relevant. And so what I'm going to do is leverage Salesforce's lookup relationship between these objects. And so I want to say I only want to see opportunities where the account ID is field from another model. Squid queries these models top to bottom. So account goes first and then ops and cases in our scenario. So field from another model, source model's account, and the ID. So whatever ID we've selected, we're going to just bring back opportunity records that look up to that particular account. For now, we're going to keep this condition always on. During, as we get moving forward though, this is going to be filterable, right? Because remember when I clicked on Nautilus Core Global, we filtered by all the child accounts and opportunities that looked up to that. And then I clicked on Blue Shoals, we filtered by Blue Shoals. So for now though, I just want to make sure, hey, everything's working, everything's coming back that's expected. So that looks good. Cases, similarly, going to add a condition. Again, capitalizing on that lookup relationship is field from another model, account, ID, perfect. So now, because it's looking for a page parameter, I'm actually going to quit or close that preview. I'm going to preview it again because now it's going to ask us for a preview or like which account we want to preview. So we're going to do United Oil and Gas. I'm just going to do this top level one for now and see what we get. So you notice it's grabbed the ID for United Oil and Gas. And now, without having to search or do anything, yep, everything's working great. So we've got our one account that we're looking at. I've got all the opportunities related to just this account. And again, we're going to make some adjustments because we need to see open and closed opportunities. And we need to see all the child accounts that are looking up to United Oil and Gas. But this is where we're starting. And similarly, cases. So we've got just the cases that are looking to United Oil and Gas Core. So this is an awesome start. Now let's go back to the App Composer, and I want to make sure that I can bring in opportunities that are both closed and open. So I can see in my list here, it looks like most of these are closed, but there are 2 that are open. So this will be a good test just to see if we are bringing back that right data. So I'm actually going to change this to ops open. Then I'm going to, instead of rebuilding a model from scratch and then bringing in all those fields and all that kind of stuff, I'm just going to clone my model. But before I do, actually, just to save myself even some more time, I'm going to add a condition. I'm going to say for this model, only bring back the opportunities where is closed is not true. So this is for all the ones that are open. So now I'm going to clone it, and we'll call this ops closed. Right, and so all my fields, everything else, I don't have to worry about my account ID. It's tied to that, but I need to change this because we're looking at opportunity records where is closed is true. So I need to now present this data. So I'm going to do, actually this would be kind of cool. I'll do a responsive grid inside a responsive grid. So right here, I'm going to just add a division, ops, call this ops open, and double click my ops closed, create a table, drag it up here. If sometimes the drag sticks, you can just zoom out or refresh your app composer. Usually I just zoom out and then I can see where I need to go. I'll zoom back to my normal space. And then for this table, I'm just going to call it ops closed. All right, so let's make sure that those conditions are working as expected. So these tables will be a little scrunched, but again, we're just trying to get and make sure that our stuff is working. So, there's also no spacing there. This you'll learn as we're going through that stuff really bothers me. So I'm going to add a column gutter size of just regular because I don't like looking at things that have no spacing. So now we'll look at it. It'll be a little bit more pleasant, and our conditions are working great. So here's the ops that are open. You can see closed is not ticked. And here's the ops that are closed, and that's correct. Everything's ticked. Everything is still all tied to United Oil and Gas. And so we are in great shape there. So for chapter 1, we're gonna stop at this point. We've got a good sense of data. We've got conditions that are beginning to tie everything together. And this is how I typically start building with Squid. Want to get a sense of that data, starting with sort of as wide open as possible, and then using conditions to start distilling it down into what I need to use to build the actual application itself. So we'll transition to a time of Q&A, and then, like I said, we'll also be able to send out this recording too, so that you can build along in your own sandbox or dev org at your leisure if you weren't able to do that while we were going through this today. But yeah, let's get to some questions.